Well, hello and welcome. Today I have Hazel Kuhlman, and she is a tarot reader, and she's a magnificent tarot reader, the best I've ever had. And I've had them all over the place, by the way, because I just love when I travel places. I just love to get my readings, and tarot to me is a magical practice. It's also will help you tremendously with answering questions and help you work on areas you need to work on. Areas, some call it the shadow work, limiting beliefs. It will emphasize the areas in your life that you're really afraid to look at, and that's been my experience. Hazel, tell me a little bit about you and how someone might contact you to get a reading.
Sure. I'm sure we can put a link below as well, but you can find me at Channeled Messages by Hazel May on Facebook, um, or find my normal Facebook page or social media. I will put the links below for you as well, so you can have that. They can reach out to you, and you're welcome to pass along my information as well.
Okay.
Um, It's usually a pretty private, intimate thing. I'll set up either a in-person meeting or a Zoom meeting, and we just get started.
We Well, you also channel. And recently, you pulled a spread for me, and my angel came through, which I'm all about angels, but
Mm-hmm.
it is very interesting. So tell us a little bit about how you got interested in doing tarot readings.
So I would say about 3 years ago, I started hearing voices, as we would say, go get a deck. I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it just kept going for 2 weeks. I ignored it. I was like, oh, I just kept saying, go get a deck. It got louder and more persistent. One day my car just drove to my favorite metaphysical store, and I parked outside. I got the best parking spot. I had the lady who purchased every single deck in there, the purchaser. She was working the store that day. Everything was in alignment for me in that moment. And I walked in and I instantly felt overwhelmed. I was like, I don't know if this is for me. I'm just going to do what I've been doing. I'm going to keep being intuitional. I'm going to keep doing my work. And I went to turn around and I literally felt the tap. And it was like, nope, you have to turn right back around. You need to go and pick your deck. And I was like, okay. Yeah. So I submitted and pushed past a lot of fear to pick up some cards I know nothing about that day. And I still have my original deck. That's what I still use to this very day, and I will share them with you here in a little bit, I'm sure. Um, and how it works for me, and how I inspire others to do something similar for themselves.
Good, good. Okay. Um, so we met in March at a retreat, and it was very interesting. You did readings on everyone there, but but we've, I just fell in love with you, and I thought, well, she's just so amazing. Um, but we also did the Teachings of Joshua boot camp, so we really
Oh yeah.
you joined it right around the time, a little bit before me, and so we worked on our limiting beliefs. We learned a lot about ourselves, and we networked with a community of other like-minded people. So I don't know if you want to share any stories. I thought the retreat in March in Orlando was fabulous, and then we were together again in May. We've had some cool experiences together, lots of fun, new experiences, and made a lot of new friends. So, are there any stories about any of this you want to share to maybe help other
Oh,
people understand the value of working on yourself with tarot or with other programs?
for sure. when I went to that retreat, I did not have any expectations of actually reading any of the other participants of that retreat. I brought them for myself and my friend. I was like, okay, I'm going to be in a house with a bunch of really cool people that don't think I'm crazy. And I can practice my work. I can practice how I do what I do. And all of a sudden, one of the program organizers, the retreat organizers, she said, Hazel, I understand you read tarot. I'd like a reading. I was like, I instant had fear wrapped around that. I was nervous right away. And as quick as that nerve came in, is as quick as it came right back out. I instantly knew that I needed to participate and I needed to push past the fear of what I considered a lack skill of mine and do that. So as soon as I started reading people, it was very clear to me how it works for me and how the process is going to be from here on out in some way, shape, or form. And so you're right. I sat down, I think I read 18 people in a row, and it was magical. We have our friend Daryl that I've read, and he puts me on blast all the time. He has that recording that he loves to share with people of how his guides came through and just allowed me to just be very blunt and forward and honest about where he's at and where he's going and who he is. And it was just, it was so fun. People who never have taken time to do a reading, they did. They sat down in front of me and we just had some fun. And mostly it's about understanding how to connect with our higher self. And so how I use tarot is not how normal tarot readers use them. What the symbols mean to me and how I've used them to change the meaning of it for each individual person is going to be different than what other tarot readers do too. And so that's where the encouragement of just because your readings don't look like my readings and my readings don't look like their readings does not make it wrong. It's our gift. It's what we're able to do and how we share the message from the collective.
Yeah. And um, I I can not tell you how many readings I've had through the years. I like to use oracle cards occasionally, but
Yeah.
that's one of the ways I started was with cards, and I'd pull a message, and when I was working with people, sometimes I still get the hit to pull a message and work with a
Oh
particular
yeah.
angel or ascended master or I just and then it just brings it in. It's just confirmation of what you're getting. Um, but the tarot, as I was looking, I looked back through two books that I have because I've actually read about it, and I have a tarot deck, but I really have never studied it or used it. And so some of the ways that tarot, the images also are profound messages to people. So every person interprets the message in a unique way, but images can be like a symbol, or um, so sometimes they may not intellectually understand the meaning of the picture they're seeing, but their higher self or their inner guidance completely understands the meaning of the message because there are lots of symbols in it and the meaning. Um, and all the readings you did were so interesting, and I sat and watched a few. And but for me, it's they always give me a message about what I need to work on, or and that's the thing. It's really targeted messages, and your readings were very interesting. And then watching you do so many, it was really great. And your energy is interesting when you're doing it.
I, I when I because more now than even that first time that I did all of those readings, um, it's mostly a channeled message that's coming in. So
Yeah.
when I'm in it, I've started asking my client or my guest or whoever I'm reading, I'm like, please either audio record this, video record it, because when I'm done and I come out of that, I don't always remember everything that I've said.
Hmm.
And when I say I mean us. We collectively have given as a message. And so after we've done that, I've gone back and listened. They've been kind enough to share them with me, and I've been able to listen to them and go, did I really say that? Okay, cool. Okay, that makes sense. That's not because when we are in our 3D brain, we hear one thing, but the message that is coming out of this mouth in that moment, there's nothing 3D about it. So they are definitely higher dimensional messages from either our guides, our loved ones, our collective consciousness, which is where I'm channeling at that in those higher dimensions. And um, it's pretty profound, the
Uh-huh.
knowing that comes, and how I've used words I've never said before. I've used phrases I've never said before. And when I listen back, I go, was that for me too? It probably was. So
Uh,
it's really fun. Sometimes I feel challenged when I maybe the person I'm reading doesn't understand the message fully. Um, but I've always found that they come around to it eventually. They do. So I've really learned to just sit in my knowing and share the message, because that's what I'm here to do, and it's to serve others. And once I've done that, then they're my teacher too. So it's a beautiful thing. It's such a lovely exchange to have.
well, and we all have free will, and whether we choose to work on, because it is difficult sometimes to uncover. It's a way to uncover limitations and limiting beliefs without actually going through an event that is, well, we call it a manifestation event. So that could be positive or negative. Um, Another way that tarot is useful is when you want to make a decision, or perhaps you have too many options available, to narrow down options. I find that's kind of another way that it's powerful, because often that we can get an inspiration, and that would be to do something new, but maybe we have too many options, so should we do it or not? And it's to get out of your comfort zone. So it will answer questions. It will
Oh
help
yeah.
you focus. I know that's always been one of my areas. Is I'm a little ADHD. I tend to go all over the place. I'll focus on magic a while, and then
Me too.
spirituality, and then I'll go here and there. But my experience has been very positive with it. And one thing that I noticed about you right away is you can help pull dark energy out of people, and I love that. And it's one of your skills, and so I tend to want everything to be positive, and then I don't want to look at the negative feelings I have. And so many of us are like that. Oh, I'll just be happy and joyful all the time, and positive. But life isn't always positive. It's not always working out the way you want, but you can
Mhm.
get focused on feeling good in all events. And that's our spiritual practice on. And this is a tool of divinity. Basically, these images bring in divine beings to help you channel messages, and help integrate the message into the life of the person. So I don't know if you have any stories about any of this you want to share.
Um, well, there's been some interesting happenings recently for me, some quite profound, more than not. Um, the other day, I went to a jewelry store and I was just going to get my finger size. I was just going to do one simple task in this shopping mall, mind you. And I go in there and I do what I set out to do, and I feel this urge to look for a certain store that I thought was there. And I go in the direction that I seemingly think that the store is at. And I walk in and it's not the store I thought it was. It's the same location, but it's not the store. And there's a husband and a wife couple in there, and I think his elderly mother with them. So they were in their late 50s, early 60s, and they had his mother with him. And it's a husband and wife shopping. And I go in, I go to the back, and I come back around, and on my way out, this gentleman asked me if I was married. And I said, no, sir, I'm not. And he said, do you have a boyfriend? And I said, oh, yeah, I have one of those. And he proceeded to ask if my boyfriend wanted to purchase something for me, would I allow it? I said, of course I would. Why wouldn't I let my boyfriend buy me something? As soon as I turned my body to face this couple, all of a sudden, all of this energy starts coming in, and I just look up and I go, really? We're gonna do this here in this store in the mall for these people. Okay. In that moment, I was able to go and speak with them and deliver a message. There was a lot of tears. There was a lot of camaraderie when it came to hearing what was said. And what was fascinating is that gentleman read cards also. In that moment, when I said I tend to tell people in public that I'm an intuitive. I don't tell people I channel because people don't know what that is in public space sometimes. And it can be very intimidating to hear that and be approached by somebody. So as soon as I said that I was an intuitive, he goes, oh, I read cards. And he goes into his pocket, he pulls out 2 tourmalines. I said, okay, well, I'm going to tell you what I really do then. And he put it back in his pocket. And in that moment, I was able to give her a message, share with her my contact information so that I could do a full reading with my tarot, with my cards. And my favorite part was at the very end. And I don't know, I don't remember much of the conversation again when I'm in that moment. I don't have a lot of recollection. But as I'm exiting this shopping area, the gentleman stopped me and goes, Hazel, I never expected to meet someone like you and have this experience today. And I turned and I faced him, and I'm buzzing because when I'm channeled, I'm completely, and like I feel like I'm levitating almost. I turned and I faced him and I said, sir, when you lose all expectation, the unimaginable will happen. And I just put my hands together and a heart. The man starts crying again. His wife starts crying again. And I literally walked out of that store as fast as I could because it was uncomfortable in that moment to be in a public space, to do that work and to share that message with that family. And it was brilliant. And in those moments is when I realized that we are really one, because I've never felt so connected to a complete stranger in my entire life than I did in that very moment. And I, in a sense, that is the level of connection that I'm having with others, especially while I'm reading, especially while they have very specific questions for me. And when I say me, I mean for themselves, that I can help them uncover and unleash. And so we did some digging for them, and she got to hear exactly what she needed to hear. And she's thriving from that. And it's beautiful I made friends in the mall for 20 minutes of work, it was beautiful.
Well, that's a nice story. And you don't really plan those spiritual moments, but they just happen, don't they?
Oh, it's for sure. So one of our retreats, the same thing. We had a young gentleman. I watched him kind of want to be in line to be next, and then he'd disappear, and he'd come in line and he'd want to be next, and he'd go somewhere. And so I found him. I said, I hope you know I would like to read you next. And he goes, oh no, let these other people do it. he didn't want to take up somebody else's time because he thought he was balanced and he was good and he was ready to go. And um, that one was really funny because he sat down in front of me, and as soon as I pulled the first three cards, I just looked at him and I was like, this is a very specific reading for you. And these particular guides are here specifically for this message. These are not your everyday guides. These are your guides for this message. And everyone's like, ooh, special guides. Everyone's having a laugh at him. And he had some struggles around being in a relationship, a committed relationship, especially from his past. And he thought that the person he needed to be with was extra woo woo like he is, when the person he's with is not. And the guys are very clear that that is not necessary for you to be happy and for you to have the most unimaginable life. And it was really funny because I was kind of trying to wrap it up with a bow, and they're like, no, no, we're not done yet. He needs to continue to sit. And I was like, uh-oh, what else? And I pulled the next set of cards, and it displayed the fear of having children and being in a relationship and being with somebody who would like to have kids. It was so beautiful. It was so profound that this person who's super balanced, super neutral in all areas of his life, creating abundance in almost everything that he touches, and he struggles with that one thing. And I pulled, like, I say but they gave it to me right out of thin air, and I was able to deliver that for them. And I remember later that day he was on the phone with his girlfriend. He's like, "Oh, this is Hazel," and I'm like, "Oh, hey," I'm like, "Just changed your whole life. I'm sorry." you know, it's always so fun because when and I don't shy away from that, and I don't hold anything to the message anymore. I don't.
Yeah,
There's
I get
zero.
messages too. And sometimes it's not an easy message. Sometimes it's something I've had to give some very difficult messages, and I've seen some
Mm-hmm.
very difficult visions. Like, I'm a visionary. I get all kinds of visions. And the most difficult one for me was, I did a healing session on a guy, and he overdosed a day or two later. But that's what I saw. And that one for me was hard, but he made the choice. It was free will. And he needed to do a lot of work. But anyway, so your
Yeah.
visions can be profound. I mean, the message he got was, you need to open your eyes. But he still
Yeah.
went down the path, and he still made the same choice. But, transitioning is just part of life. And that's just something that, we, I mean, death is
Right.
part of life. And, but we have to focus on every day that we're here, and the spirit, everybody's not spiritual. And I've run across some people that were non-spiritual on the healing, when I do healing sessions, and they still get pretty profound messages. Some are more receptive than others, but,
Mm-hmm.
um, but we're all one. And so, I focus on love and giving love. And of course, I like loving messages, but sometimes they're more
Yeah.
difficult than that. I've had to tell people to go to the doctor. I've had to tell people
Oh,
things
yeah.
that are, uh, one of my really good friends, I mean, she had a serious problem. And when I did a session on her, it was, I had to tell her. And I really struggled in the beginning with telling some of those messages to people. But after a while, I realized everything is love. So,
Yes.
their illnesses are love, and loving them where they're at. So it's really interesting that you're getting messages for strangers in places, but
Oh, man. It's crazy. And the knowing is like pretty intense. And I think I want to speak to something else you said. When you get messages for people and that you love and you care about, it's extremely challenging to deliver the message the way you hear it. I still struggle with that because I have really close spiritual friends that come to me and they ask me questions. They're like, okay, what do you see? What do you hear? Can you pull a card for me? Or whatever it might be. Um, and some of them now know, they go, I can handle it. Go ahead. Because they know that I sometimes will try to deliver the message as nice as possible. Sometimes what I get is not always the nicest message. And there is a way for us in our 3D brain to be able to process that information. So I'm definitely tuning that well so that the message can be received on the other person's end. So it is fascinating when you read other people that you're close to.
Yeah, and that's, you can't hold back a message because they need to
No.
hear it, especially the people you love. I mean, because you're going to continue to be getting the message in their presence. And so, I don't hold back. But, I don't necessarily share messages. I'm sort of let them come to me kind of person now.
Yeah.
I used to be more telling people things, or you need to do a session, blah blah, and they,
Yeah.
knowing, but everybody doesn't want to be saved, everybody doesn't want to heal. Some people are going to leave us and that is their
Yeah.
choice, and our messages are for the people that are ready for them. And
Yeah.
that can be anyone, anywhere. It could be someone in a mall, or it could be someone you meet in a store, or it could be anywhere. It could be a loved one. I know
Yeah.
I was I was doing some magic around um, financial abundance and confidence. And one of my friends is going up for a promotion, but it was funny because all I did was put my hand on their chest and give them some energy, and they rose up and did this power pose. It was really
Yeah.
the coolest thing. And I just said, oh, you're confident and you've already got the job. And I just shared some energy with them. And it wasn't like a whole lot of words, but it was, their body language changed. You could see, because I'm really into energy and
Oh
magic
yeah.
and tarot and all of that. So, but I love your messages. I think they're profound. Um, and I've been doing, I don't know how long, probably 5 or 6 years. I've had them everywhere, all over, from England to Salem. Now, I did have a girl. She did a reading for me in Salem about 4 or 5 years ago. Every single thing
Oh
she
yeah.
said came true. She's almost scary. I was like, I don't think I want to go back to her. And at the time, I didn't record it or anything, but it was several bizarre things that she said, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" It was years ago, but but um I and then I had one. Let's see, when was the last one? I had one in Savannah, and she's like, well, you just put everybody's needs ahead of you. You need to stop thinking about everybody else, basically. And that was like in January, and I was like, me? Why? Why would I do that? No, I've been trained to do that, so that's what I do, and I do.
That's so funny.
And then when I called you the other day, I was like worried about everybody. And you're like, put this down, Tammy. You don't need to carry it. It's everybody else's baggage. See, you can say it to me, so you
Yeah.
you might as well. I take it pretty well. I know the truth. I know it, but sometimes you just got to hear it in a new way. Um,
Yep.
resistance, and I don't know. Do you have any other um messages about spirituality? That's what. Oh, you use the pendulum. I know. I'm supposed to ask you about that too, because
Oh yeah.
that's
So I
interesting.
keep a couple pendulums on me at all times, and I use some stone placeholders once in a while too. Just depends on how crazy the reading gets. But I have this beautiful quartz and amethyst pendulum that I got from one of my absolute bestest friend here on planet Earth. She's also a very wonderful spiritual teacher and guide, and she does beautiful energy work. So she gave me this. So this is what we would call our lie detector now, right? So these beautiful things are able to come in and give us truth. And for me, I use them mostly because when I'm over top of a card, I usually can sense whether I need to give more, um, and or not give more, or if I also like it for clarity. Did I give the right version of the message that they're telling me to give? And so when I do that, um, this just confirms what my 3D brain to make sure that I'm going the right way. And it's fascinating how many rabbit holes it will make me go down. And sometimes I have, you know, 30 cards out of the deck in front of me for somebody, and sometimes I
Yes,
have
I've seen that. And
7.
then, well, one
Oh,
time on one of our friends, he got the whole deck. It was like you can clear out everybody's baggage. Um, I,
oh,
I,
that's so crazy.
I,
It's so
I
good.
love that because I give him all my baggage every time I see him now.
Me too. Me too. Me
And
too. I was like, you didn't know you could do this, did you?
I had a in this book, I was looking at this is a modern magic book by Donald Michael Craig, and um, he talks about the history of tarot and what how it came to be. And the mythology is that it comes from China and Egypt, and it started with like it started at the Sphinx, and they would it started as images and then it moved out. But it didn't come around until it was in the 1300s, the first documented um, cards, and they were made from the images that were seen in other magical places. So there's a little bit of
Yes.
mythology. They're not sure where they exactly originated, but I thought that was I thought that was really interesting. So there's a lot of mythology. They've been in use a long time. They didn't come to America until the 1800s, but I mean, I was just so that people know this has been around for a long time, and it really was transformed by some magical orders, and it was part of their
Yeah.
initiation. And so, in anyway, icons, imagery. So another way that tarot can be used is when you get a card, you can meditate on it. So
Oh, yeah.
you often give people the images in a photograph. So you know, that's another way that you can do it. And you can use the pendulum to get a yes or a no, to get more information. I have
Yeah.
pendulum too, and I
Yeah.
use
I
it.
mean, I have another one. This is one of my rainbow quartz ones that I love. And it's just, some of them are just, they're all unique. This is another one that I got from a beautiful shop that a good friend of mine um owns. So there's so many unique ways to become who and what your soul is here to do and be. And there are, like, you have books. I've read the books. On the back of my cards, I even have all my little notes from when I first started. I haven't Some of them have kind of worn on them a bit, like there's corners bent, and there's different there's different colors. And but the reason I have them is, and I don't take them off, is because it reminds me where I started. And I
Oh,
don't use the back very often, but I have notes on them because sometimes I've changed what comes in and what that represents sometimes. So really, for those who are interested in doing tarot, go get a deck, go borrow a deck, go curate a deck, go get a deck of
yeah.
cards, one that speaks to you. I have the original Rider Waite ones that has the original imagery on it. I love them. they're classic. It's easy for me. My guides and your guides and our collective come through crystal clear. And I now have a connection with this particular deck that allows me to read extremely accurately and extremely clearly. And yeah, they're starting to wear. I use them day in and day out. And I don't know that the day that they retire will be a unique day. They're going to go in a museum somewhere. I'm sure of it. But um, the ultimate thing is just go do it. It doesn't have to look. You don't have to follow what everybody does. You don't have. It doesn't have to look like the way I do it because mine is not traditional. I don't have a pattern. I don't. I pull until source tells me to stop, and source can be your guides, your loved ones, our collective consciousness. And so,
Or angels.
um,
When you read me the
yeah.
other day, and
Oh, your angel
a
is so
beefy
beautiful.
angel
Oh,
came in. I was like, oh, all over it.
Angel, I remember Angel very well. Thank you.
And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
that sounds great. I
yeah.
even made
So,
some images around it. But one of the books that I have that I've read in the past, um, they connect different angels to the arcana or to the cards. So that's another way that there are lots of ways to use
absolutely.
the deck. But the anyway, those were some things that I read about and I knew, and I appreciate it. I think that it is a magical practice. It will help you in your spirituality. So I think that it helped you along. It's a very creative process. It's
Oh
not
yeah.
a one, there's not
You have,
one
and you
way
have
to
to, like you
learn
said, you
how to
have to.
do it.
It's creative, but you have to find the way that works for you. Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm. Okay.
absolutely. No, and so when I read for people at the retreat, they're like, they were almost nervous, like, um, they wanted to know if they should read or if they should buy a deck, or they were so fascinated how I went about how I was reading. They're like, they were thinking, I wonder if I can do that. The answer is always yes.
Yes.
The answer is yes.
Yeah.
Go get one. I will never gatekeep how I do what I do. If it works for somebody, I will help them top to bottom. I will coach them. I will do whatever it is that's necessary for them to be able to practice. And more importantly, if my way doesn't work, I will encourage them to learn the way that does work for them, and point them to different teachers because we are all teachers and we are all students.
Yes.
And that in itself, I'm so grateful for.
Yeah. Yeah, because I've had a deck for years, but one of my girlfriends, she's an artist and she reads them. Well, she's basically a witch, and she's an artist. But it was
I love it.
interesting because I pulled out her card, and when I was going through these magic books I went through two. It was saying to pull out certain cards and meditate on the cards, and
Yeah.
so and then connect with angels with it too. So there are infinite ways to use it, and there are different ways to learn it. I'm glad that you use a traditional deck because I think that's where, basically that's what they recommend.
And the images are so, they're good for me, but these other decks, like you said, there's so many artists that do different styles, but they have the same names and the same numbers and major and minor arcanas and things like that. So it, whatever speaks to you, that's where you go, and that's what you should do. And I love that. Oh,
Yeah.
I love talking to you, Tammy, in general. Like we could talk about
I
this
love
stuff all
talking to
day
you.
long.
ah, well, now I asked, or we kind of chatted about maybe doing a reading for anyone that hears this. Um, so
Yeah,
I'll let you pull that for
yeah. I
and see if you have a
I have
message for
I will
the
have a
listeners.
I will have a message for the collective. Yes,
Collective, sweet.
there. Yes. Mm. This is where patience is always key because you never know which one's gonna fall. So in this process, I just wait till they choose the card for me. I do not stop. I don't pull. I just go. There we go.
The world card.
The world card.
Oh,
So as I'm going, they said, you already know what we're about to say. And they said, you were already talking about it. And it is that we are one. And in the world of tarot, for example, this is like coming into complete phases for ourselves and really full circle, spiritual achievement, getting to your goals, achieving them, having the world in your hands, right? And with what I'm getting from that particular card is that we collectively have everything at our fingertips. We are able to do and have anything that we would like. We are one. We are able to do and come together and change anything if we so choose. We have to be able to see and hear the messages that are coming to us. And when we are receptive to that, they will come. And they will come, and they will come, and they will come. They're asking for another one. Sometimes it makes me laugh because I hear what they're talking about. So so this High Priestess, this is one of the balance cards. The other thing that's interesting about this is it's your intuition, it's your knowing of your own truth. It is some people say black and white or balance, yin and yang. I recently listened to somebody who reads tarot, and I adore her YouTube channel, and I listen to it often. She had mentioned that she's silent because it comes from our inner self, our inner voice. So change yourself, change the world, and you get to do that through yourself. And the messages are coming for you every single second of every single day. It's whether you choose to take that and do something about it, or if you continue to ignore it and choose whatever fork in the road is in your way that moment in that day. Oh, they want a little more. Okay. So funny. It's so fun because I don't get to choose. And while I've done this in the past, I've shuffled cards and one has fallen out in a way, and I was like, oh, they don't mean that card, right? They're not talking about that. That same card will come full circle right on back out. So I do not underestimate that. So even if I put something back in, they will pull it. It is clear as day what it is that they are trying to share and say. And it's interesting to me because they say it's so hard to give a message for all, but the message is real. The message is that we can and have and be and do anything that we would like. Creating that balance for yourself, understanding how to listen to your inner self is super key. And using people to help with that, such as tarot or spiritual readers or energy healers or energy workers, sound healers. We have a lot of friends in our world, in our spiritual world, and in our group of circle that do a lot of amazing things, and I couldn't recommend them enough. And to experience that, if you feel drawn to it, you should always do it. So the end of this message is that there's work to do. You have to do the work. You have to dig out those things that are not serving you. There we go. You have to dig out these things that are not serving you. Which I have the Six of Wands. And there you go. Six of Wands. And let go and recover. Make the change. If you feel drawn to it, please do it. The Three of Pentacles is the next one that came out. This is really about laying the groundwork for yourself. You cannot push past fear. You cannot take these daggers out and do the work if you do not lay the groundwork. Learn some practices that allow you to do that. It has changed my life. Understanding how to process these things has changed my life, and how to help others learn how to process these things. And without the spiritual practices that you and I have both learned over the last several years, I would not be having this conversation in the same way that we are having it right now. And the final card that I absolutely love and adore is the Nine of Pentacles.
Oh, nice.
It's so beautiful. This is funny because it's had very, very many different meanings for different clients and friends and people who've ever sat across from me. But this is the fruit of your work. When you lay the foundation and you start processing those things, you will be abundant. You will have the things that you are seeking, and they're going to come in ways that you do not imagine. So having the expectation that they're going to come a certain way must be left at the wayside, so that they can come in any way possible to you.
Yeah. Well,
What a beautiful message.
it is. I mean, the world card, that's really cool. I think I got the world card whenever I first
You got a world card recently in our most recent retreat that we shared
yeah,
together.
and a couple others. But anyway, it's so cool. Like, and the meaning of the message is it's really it's really true. So letting go of your shadows, letting go of your limiting belief, pushing past fear, going ahead and doing those things that you are passionate about, and it could be card reading, and that just might
Yeah,
be the first step. You're going to it will unlock your spiritual gifts, and it will just keep growing and growing and making life better. So you don't
so wonderful.
I can't recommend Hazel enough. She is really a great reader, and I'm telling you, it's the best. And I've had them all over the place. I've every time I travel, I get a reading. It's one of the
Me too.
things.
I love it.
Yeah, I support light workers, and
Me
so
too.
it's what I do, and it's also a great way to meet people. I've met some pretty interesting people, but and each day is different. A reading could be different. So if you're feeling stuck, or if you feel like you need more information, contact Hazel, and she will get you straight.
That's
uh,
right. I'll make sure I get my information to you so you can put it on the podcast and on the video, or however you're going to post it. And
yeah, I'm going to put it
absolutely,
on
it's
YouTube and the podcast, so people, and I'll put it in the show notes so they can, I can find you and they can find you.
perfect. Perfect.
So, well, thank you, and you have a great weekend, and
Oh,
enjoy
thank you
your
so much.
lovely life. And
Oh
thank you
yeah.
for all the people you help. I know you do lots of readings, and you also work, and you're, but I'm sure the two are merging at some point.
It's, I always say I have a captive audience with my clients that I work on in my at my spa that I manage and own, and so they love it, and it really is. It's like you said, my worlds are starting to really collide. I have had every blessing given to me recently, and I am I am eternally grateful. This life and every life in the future and in the past that I've ever had, it's unimaginable what can come through and what we can do and how we can have it. It's so amazing.
And it's fun. Like,
It's so much fun. If it's not fun, I'm not doing it. That's my
yeah,
rule.
yeah. So you're one of the people that just radiate joy and love, and you can really help people a lot. So thank you. I appreciate you, and I'm grateful for everything. So we'll talk later. Okay.
Sounds great,
Bye.
Tammy. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Love you.